So folks, this is my workbench. And well, there's another workbench over here. But this is my main electronics workbench. And as you can tell, it's kind of a mess. And part of that is just because I'm kind of messy. But part of it is that, as you can see, it's really not very deep. This is, the countertop is in a converted closet. So we get, well, I don't know. Sorry about that. We get maybe 22 inches. Yeah, I don't know if you can see that. About 22 inches of depth. So it's not really a lot of depth, and especially, like, luckily my scope is thin, but my little power supply down here, it's pretty deep. Yeah, that must be 8 inches deep. And then on my toolbox here, and it sticks out 7 or 8 inches. I only have this much depth here. So I've been thinking about how I can deal with this. And the most obvious thing to do involves moving some of the stuff and wall mounting it, because I have a really nice wall here. And I think I can mount the oscilloscope. I can mount my fluke meter pretty easily. And I have some other ideas for what I might do. So that's going to be what the project is. We're going to use this space up here to mount. And how I'm going to mount there, well, I'm going to steal a technique from the woodworking world. And we're going to do that. So I will show you when we get farther along. So here's what the plan is. On the left side of the workbench, I'm going to take a piece of plywood. This will be a piece of 1/2 inch, or actually 12 millimeter plywood that is 30 inches across and then 36 inches high. And that's partly defined by the space I have and partly by a piece of plywood I already have. And we're going to be building what's known as a French cleat system. And French cleats are really popular amongst woodworkers for storing tools on the walls or anything else on the walls. They aren't really used that much outside. So, and a French cleat is really pretty simple. What we're going to do, and I have these bodies pre-made, we're going to build this little cleat that attaches. And you can see, if I zoom in, it has a very specific profile. So we have 45-degree angle here, and then the front part sticks out more than the back part. And we're going to attach a series of these. Missed one. All the way up to the top. So that's what our wall will look like. And the nice part about this is this then gives us a lot of flexibility. We can choose where to put things. And then I'm going to build holders for the various things that I want to put on the wall. And the first one that I'll probably do is the little oscilloscope I have. And I did a quick little design for that. And this is what it's going to look like. So it's a little tray, and if I turn off the back, what you can see how the tray just fits in really nicely on top of this body. So it just has this little hook. It's also at a 45-degree angle. And then you set it on top, and gravity pulls it down and back against the wall. And then the bottom part sits against the next. So what you end up with is something that is very, very solid, but movable around. And you can move it left to right, and then you can move it up. These are spaced essentially about every 8 inches. No, about every 6 inches. So you can move it up or down 6 inches. And I'll build the backing, and the cleats will build kind of conventionally. This one I think I'm probably going to build using my Shaper Origin just for fun, and because that'll kind of give me a nice design. And the other nice thing this will be is from this perspective, I also have holes here. So the oscilloscope will obviously have a power cord that comes out, and this will let me pull a power cord out to the side and give me something really nice. And I think this will be enough. I might need to build something with straps that go across somehow to hold it in, but I think the combination of just this nice wide shelf and everything else will work pretty well. I do have to look at ventilation. The scope has a cooling fan, and I have to make sure that I'm not too tight on the ends so that we can still get good ventilation. And I could put ventilation holes in here if I wanted to. It'll be more work, but could easily do that. So that is the design and what it is too. So now we go off and we're going to start by building the wall piece. So the big wall and then the other cleats that are attached. Hello, so I'm out in my very cramped garage, and to start the project I'm going to need a piece of plywood that is 2.5 feet by 36 inches, so 30 inches by 36 inches, and I have this nice piece of Baltic birch plywood, which is nice and dimensionally stable, and it's 1/2 inch or whatever the metric equivalent is, so probably 12 millimeter. And what I need to do is, first I'm going to cut it this way, but before I do that, the edge back on this side is pretty ragged. I think I cut it with, well, it looks like I cut it with a hatchet. I probably cut it with a jigsaw because I just needed a sized piece. So first I need to get a nice clean edge here. And that edge needs to be 36 inches from this front all the way to the back. And I have a table saw that we're kind of sitting on, but it's not set up to do big panels. And if you're not set up to do big panels, it can be kind of unsafe. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my nice little Makita saw here, worm drive. So what I've done is I've gone out in here on the piece, I marked 36 inches, which is right next to the edge over here. And then I've gone and put a tape and reminded myself that it's 3.5 inches from this side to the edge of the blade. So what I'm going to do is put a straight edge this way, and I'll angle down a little so you can see it better, 3 5/8 back. And then I can just run the saw right along it, and it'll be pretty much perfect. So I'm going to get set up for that. I should be able to see a little better. And to do this, you need a long straight edge. This is an 8-inch nice aluminum channel. And it comes with these little clamps that I sometimes use, but generally I just use some of my quick clamps because they're just a lot easier to deal with. Somewhere down here I have power. And that's just an extension cord that comes down on this. Set the depth to something reasonable. Okay, so that gave us a really nice cut. So 36 this way. And now I need to set up for the 2.5 that way. Okay, so I've taken the clamps off, holding it. Let's look at options. I go this way, I can support on the table saw and support on the other bench over here, but unfortunately in the middle, it's not going to be very well supported. That might be okay. The other option is to go this way, and I don't have any support out there, although I guess I could put some in. So, okay, attach down here. I'm going to attach it up here, which is probably too close for you to see. Okay, so 30 inches, that's where I want the blade. 1, 2, 3, 5/8, that's where the fence is going to be. Perhaps the more normal way to do this would be to just use sawhorses. Still use the same approach for marking. So I'll hop over to the other side, cut this way off to here. The only big problem I have is I'll get over to this edge and this end is going to want to drop off. We have a nice little trick I'll show you. See if I can see over there. Yeah. Under we go. So what I have is one of my extra clamps here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to start cutting here. And once I get up a little here, I'm going to use this on the edge to hold these two pieces together. And that'll give this piece over here, the cutoff piece, support here and then at the two other corners. And that's going to keep it from falling off. And the fact that I have most of my saw weight is on this side, on the part that's attached. So, some more cutting. Okay, clamp the open kerf. So, it dropped a little bit, but not a lot. And that is just fine. Okay, so now that we have this done, we can start thinking about layout. And this is going to be vertical, so bottom here, top over here. And what I'm going to end up doing is have essentially slats that run across that direction. So that's the way the cleats are going to go. And I'll get set up. I need a bunch of cleats, all 30 inches long. Somewhere I have a little drawing, and it says I need 7 of them. So first step will be cutting them over to length. Over on the chop saw, which is going to be unexciting. So, for the cleats that I'm making, that's kind of what the side profile is going to look like. So, it's going to be 2 inches here in this dimension, and then a 45-degree angle here, which I guess means 1 1/4 there, since this is pretty close to 3/4 inch stock. So, I went to set that up on the table saw, and I run into a problem. So that's about where I'd want the fence, about that far away. But when I start adjusting the angle, what you see is I start running into my safety equipment. Now, I could of course take this off and run without it. Sometimes you have to, but I'd kind of prefer not to. So there's a nice little trick that I'm going to do. And I'm going to take this nice long piece of very straight oak. I'm going to essentially use that as a spacer. So instead of looking for 2 inches between the fence and the blade, I'm looking for 2 inches between here and here. So we'll set that up pretty close. Okay, so that's 2 inches, and now I can take that all the way over without running it into anything. This still sits up a little. I probably have to leave it there, but I can still have the pawls, and I can still have everything else safe. So do a little cut, do this, see how that looks, and then I have a whole set of 7 of these to run through. So that's the whole stack. And I want to make sure the crappy edge is on that side. And all these are just common 1x3, so it's pretty simple. Okay, now before I cut, I need to think about how I can push through. Now normally you'd put like a push stick here. It's like, okay, well that might work a little. I'll kind of run into the blade, but I can probably get that. I don't want my hands anywhere near here. I think what I'm going to do, since I have the pawls and that'll keep it from kicking back, is I'll push one through and then I'll just pick up the next one and use that to push through. I'm gonna move the angle. Okay, so first thing to do is actually plug in the table saw. Switch my shop vac over. And turn it on. Now you won't be able to hear me. So now you can see the profile pretty well. See, it's a nice 45, and it's actually a pretty nice cut. And the way this works is if this is the wall, you have the nice little piece like that, and we'll have another piece that looks like this but bigger, and it'll just sit right on top, and then that'll keep it from moving away. It'll be more obvious in a bit. I'm going to cut. I have some, this was 1x3 stock. I have some 1x2 that I'm going to use for the hangers, and I'm going to go ahead and cut it, but I'm not going to show you because it's going to be pretty boring. Okay, so we finished all the cutting, at least for all the cleats, and what I ended up with, we have 3 cleat pieces here. These are going to be used to actually mount pieces to the wall. So this will be to whatever we're attaching to the wall. I have the 7 main ones that I cut, and those are going to be attached to the wood. And then while I was set up to do it, I had some other pieces, and these are just a little bit bigger. These are 2.5, and these will probably go up somewhere in the workshop. So not for this project, but since I was setting things up. So next thing to do, I'm going to spend some time sanding these. I don't know how well you can see that edge at the top, but it is pretty darn sharp. And it's not something you want to run your hands over. And in fact, you want to knock down the edge on that and knock down the edge on these a little. It'll actually allow them to fit better. And then I have some cut marks, a little burn mark there, and just in general I'm going to sand these up. So I'll get to that, and then we can do layout on this, and then just attach them, and then the board will be done. So here we are back. I've sanded all of these, so they're nice, pretty looking. And then I did some layout on the board here for the spacing, which you can kind of see. So each of these cleats is 2 inches this way, and then there's a 2-inch space here. So that means the piece that's hanging will have a cleat that goes in like that and slides down, and that's how it will hang. This will be pretty obvious in a minute. So all we need to do is start doing some gluing. I did a quick little check, and I have enough clamps to do 4 pretty easily. So we're going to do 4 and let it dry, and then come back and do another 4. And this does not have to be perfect. I'm just using, this is Tight Bond 2. Nice wood glue. I thought about using mechanical fasteners, maybe some brads or something from the other side, but I just don't think I need it. Maybe if I'm not happy when this is done, I'll go back and add them. And there's one little tip when you're doing cleats, French cleats like this. You want to make sure that you don't get a bunch of glue right on the edge here. That's going to be the edge that's back against the wood. And if you fill that up with glue, your cleat won't go in correctly. And it's also possible if you try to hang things on these before they're dry, you can actually glue things to your cleat wall, which is kind of not the goal. That's always fun. Both ends want to move. Because the glue is kind of like a lubricant, I guess. Most of these are going to have to face up. This one, I guess, can face down. I don't know, maybe I will flip it over and put some brads in along there. So that's first two glued up. I'll glue up 2 more and then we'll let it sit. Do the others probably later today or tomorrow. Welcome back. Here we are after finishing the gluing for all of the slats. Just need to take clamps off. I put this bar across the middle. I had pressure on the sides, obviously, and this bar across the middle held down the middle. To give a little more clamping pressure there was a little bow, so the tops, the middles weren't quite tight against the back. And here's the completed French cleat board, or wall, or whatever we're going to call it. And pick it up. So you can see the edge. Hey, that looks pretty much just like what we expected when we looked at the 3D drawing. So that's all for the board. This will get installed. Maybe I'll show the installation as part of this video. And next video we'll go on and we'll start making things for it.